I was just happy that the Riddler actually had riddles that needed to be solved, unlike Jim Carrey's.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Honestly, like setting up like the serial killer Riddler in the trailers and like in all the pre-release stuff. I guess I maybe wasn't expecting to see many of them at all, but like they were actually crucial to the story. And it also like it makes Riddler very intelligent because he literally says it during the movie, and when he says it, I realized like, oh shit, he has been doing that. How he kind of uses Batman sometimes to like get things done.
Welcome to Idiot Plot, a comedic podcast critiquing, discussing, and analyzing the media industry through reviews, debates, and historical deep dives.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Idiot Plot. I'm David Yanis, joined as always by my co-host Alex Overdahl.
Is it helicopter?
And Justin Neitzel.
I'm Vengeance.
Today we are talking about probably what I would say, guys, is like the first big release of the year for movies, and that's Matt Reeves The Batman. We sat through all 3 hours of it. We saw it. We have our thoughts. We're going to get into that, but what we thought. But before that, there's some other news that happened this past week. Disney Plus has released the trailer for the new Star Wars Obi Wan Kenobi series, premiering on Disney Plus on May 25th, 2022. I think we all saw a trailer, guys. What are your thoughts on it? Because we're all big Star Wars fans. We're all big prequel fans. What are you excited to see, or not excited to see? With I mean, Ewan's back. Hayden Christensen's back. Joel Edgerton's back.
See, that I'm all happy with. All the other people I'm a little worried about. From this trailer,
yeah,
it barely focuses on Obi-Wan. It seems like it's going to be more of a Inquisitor story than an Obi-Wan story.
Which is a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. You called it Obi-Wan Kenobi. You literally called the show Obi-Wan Kenobi. I wonder if there's like any evidence, like, because there have been other Disney shows. I wonder if there's any evidence of like a show they might call and name after a character that really isn't actually about that character, but I'd have to think.
Yeah, I can't think of anything top of my head. At least not recently, not in the past couple of weeks.
Right, it definitely wouldn't be something that had Mandalorian in it.
No, definitely not. Oh yeah. Guys, did you guys see Book of Boba Fett? It was totally all about Boba Fett. He was totally the main character.
He was totally there to be the character.
That's bad enough as is, but like that to do Obi-Wan and have Ewan McGregor back and bring back Hayden Christensen, but knowing damn well both of them are barely going to be in it is pretty depressing because Disney has basically ignored the prequels. Any prequel related content has been non-existent, and you finally get it. But hey, it's gonna not really be about that.
Yeah, I have hope that we'll see an Obi-Wan centric story, but that trailer did not really put me in the right frame of mind. Mostly because it looks like the plot is about them hunting Obi-Wan, which makes Obi-Wan the antagonist, not the protagonist.
Well, the other thing is Obi-Wan leaves Tatooine, and it's like, why?
Yeah, he should not do that. Like,
he should not be doing that.
Well, I think the sad truth is that the Obi-Wan show narratively is hard to do based on the own Star Wars timeline, right? He's in isolation on Tatooine between episodes 3 and 4. He's watching Luke. He's not really doing much, and to try to tell a story of him doing that is gonna be hard. It's gonna be a challenge.
I also think and there are certain narrative hurdles, like Vader and Obi-Wan haven't seen each other for a really long time. When in A New Hope, that his mentality at the end of 3, where he's feeling very defeated and he just wants to be on Tatooine and watch this kid and be detached from the war, that can't change because that's his whole like Luke is what gets him back in it in A New Hope. So there's a lot. I agree. There's a lot you can't do. I mean, Disney might do it anyway, but there's a lot you can't really do and have it make sense.
Well, and you had the Kathleen Kennedy article thing come out saying, "Oh, it was too bleak, so we sent it back to be rewritten." It's like, no, this should be bleak. He's lost his best friend. He's lost the war. he's lost his religion basically in the Jedi Knights. Like, he should be fucking depressed.
Did you watch Revenge of the Sith? That one of the main characters slaughters children and then gets his legs cut off and burns, and his pregnant wife dies.
And he thinks his kids are dead.
It's one of the darkest endings to a mainstream movie that needs to be dark. It's properly depressing, and part of that goes on to Obi-Wan. And there is some story to kind of talk about there. I mean, one of my favorite Star Wars YouTube videos is the Obi-Wan has PTSD one, which is an amazing video. If you guys haven't seen it,
I've seen that one, yeah.
Because the editing of all those different scenes into his speech is so damn good. And really, I think it makes me rethink that scene now, seeing the prequels. And there's a story to tell about how Obi-Wan goes from probably being super depressed, losing to Palpatine, and getting his hope back to help train Luke and fight back against Vader. There's a story there about how his mind probably changed, but I don't know if there's enough there for a whole series or to have enough content to really make it interesting for 6 episodes on its own.
Yeah, I think as a movie, it might have worked better. Well, I feel like it might not be a big enough story for a movie, but like you do the TV movie kind of thing on Disney Plus instead of a miniseries. You could do like 2 hours.
Honestly, it's perfect for a comic.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Because I don't know if there's enough there. I do like the idea of like him finding out that Anakin's still alive, right, and that he's Vader, but that's about it.
I mean, they did do it. Justin, I know about to say the story was kind of told in the Marvel Star Wars run a little bit.
Yeah, they had like 1 or 2 issues, I believe, of talking about stuff going on in the desert.
But they can't shoehorn what might be the most controversial part, because I've seen the reception of the trailer online. No one's really talking about Obi-Wan. Everyone's talking about the appearance of the Inquisitors, who are set to be the main villains of the series. But the fact that they're doing another Mandalorian trope, which is bringing back anime characters in live action, people are pretty unhappy with how boring the designs are.
Well, even like the Grand Inquisitor, his head should be more oblong, like it should be taller and less, not as wide. And it's like you see YouTube videos of like fans like making it that way. Like it's like you couldn't have done it that way. Like,
well, I will say there are ways to do it more interesting, because like Cad Bane in Book of Boba Fett looks nothing like he does in the show. He looks more like Crypto from Destroy All Humans than he does Cad Bane, but he still looks cool. Whereas the Grand Inquisitor looks kind of lame, I'm sad to say.
Well, the one thing
I've also seen a lot of people complain about the fact that they recast him and got rid of Jason Isaacs and replaced him with his Death of Stalin co-star Rupert Friend.
The one thing I will say about Cad Bane, I mean, he does look different than he did in the cartoon, but the cartoon is also like 30, 40 years earlier in time. So I mean, I can accept a little change considering we don't know how his species ages.
I mean, and it could be more than what we see in the trailer. Like, I want to be hopeful. I want to be hopeful that Obi-Wan's going to be good. That Obi-Wan is the main character. I want to see more of Ewan as Obi-Wan, because I mean, in real world time, I'm pretty sure like the timeline or the amount of time between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope in real life is the same as the gap is in the movie.
Not quite, because
17 years.
I don't think Luke is that old in the trailer. He might be
no. What I'm saying is that Obi-Wan, like Ewan McGregor, has aged the amount of time in the world that where he would be if the movies actually happened.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So there's been some proper aging. I'm curious what they're gonna do with Hayden Christensen, if he's just in the suit or if we're gonna see Anakin out of the suit.
I'd love to get a scene where he's in the Bacta tank, kind of like we got teased in Rogue One. That would be fun to see.
Because I think he's back for the Ahsoka show too.
That's gotta be as like a Force ghost or something.
I wonder what I would be
flashbacks
into, which yep, that's often overused, but in this case, it works really well and is almost necessary. Like, give us new scenes with Obi-Wan and Anakin. I think that could work well.
It could be a possibility.
I will say that I'm really impressed of how people made fun of Hayden Christensen so much when those prequels stopped, and when he comes back, I mean, people were so happy when he came back. I was stunned by how excited people were to see Hayden Christensen return.
I was too. I mean, really, like I knew I was going to be excited, but I was like, oh, I wonder like what the response is going to be, and like everybody was super happy.
I think because they want more.
Problem is people are too reactionary right away, and they start to realize, oh, we probably shouldn't have given him so much shit, just like they shouldn't have given Jake Lloyd as much shit as they gave him. It's just like, come on, guys.
I don't know, man. Star Wars fans kind of gave Kelly Marie Tran a bad run. So I don't know if they've done that much.
That's true. You'd think they would learn. It's like, it's never the actor's fault. At the end of the day, it's the director who's making the story and directing them on how they want it done. It's not the actor.
Yeah, and I mean, I still say, I mean, Hayden Christensen is good in Revenge of the Sith. Like he does a really good job. Attack of the Clones, yeah, did great, but he's very good as edgelord Anakin.
Yeah, but even like Natalie Portman, an Oscar-winning actress, is not very good in Attack of the Clones. It's like they're playing off blue screens that has never really been done at the time. Now it's like the
standard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to see what happened if Lucas made the prequels with today's technology.
Well, everything would be probably CGI.
That's a really interesting question to ask, because I mean they were all CGI back then, but it looked awkward and weird, and it resulted in like weird blocking, weird staging. Actors didn't really know what they were doing, but now it's standard. So maybe the droid factory scene wouldn't be so terrible.
Yeah, honestly, there's a good case for that. I mean, three is a little bit more practical and CG effects, but like, and still looks good. But like, I think some of the battle scenes might have been bigger in 2 and 3 had like if they had modern CG technology.
I just really hope that Obi-Wan is just not. It's not nostalgia baiting. I hope it's good. I want it to be good. People are like, "Oh, here they go again."
They're already
Disney. But
they're already nostalgia baiting. They got freaking Duel of the Fates and the Revenge of the Sith score in that trailer.
Well, I still want it to be good.
Yeah, me too. I mean, honestly, like, I've mostly complained here about what I've seen, but like, if it's good, I'll be the first one to be happy, because I mean, I want more prequel shit, and if it's good, like, I would be really ecstatic.
And
I'm with you.
Mandalorian is overall good. I don't think season 2 ends as high as it could have, and Book of Boba Fett was admittedly kind of a disappointment.
That's where I'm kind of like, what have you done for me lately? And it's like, lately it's been kind of
which is better than the movies, where I will say, my disappointments with Mandalorian season 2 and the end of that, like, I'm still gonna sign up for more. I was just a little let down versus like the movies. It was just a shit show.
Hey, I'm more excited for this show than the Cassian Andor show.
Yeah, which is getting
that's a thing.
Yeah, it's moving pretty quickly, but there's not a lot of hype for it. At least not compared to Obi-Wan. But we'll see. They got
a lot of good things going for them right now. Is that they got Joel Kinnaman? Was it not Joel Kinnaman?
Joe Edgerton.
Yeah, and Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back. Right now they're in the right direction. The trailer wasn't great, but they're heading in the right direction.
I have hope that the trailer is just because there's not a lot of footage ready, and they don't want to
spoil anything. So.
Yeah, my optimistic theory, that I do have, I just haven't gotten to it yet, but is that's basically how the first episode is it's focused on the Inquisitors hunting him, and once you actually meet Obi-Wan in the show, then it's about Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. But like, you kind of set it up with like them hunting him, and then where they find out what it is, then you transition where he is, you transition to it being about Obi-Wan.
Yep, I'm hoping it is too. At least at the very least, I'm hoping that it is Obi-Wan focused, and I wouldn't even have to ask this question now for Book of Boba Fett. That's the theory, because Book of Boba Fett was lacking in Boba Fett for a large portion of it.
And then like the last 3 episodes was setting up 2 different shows for their seasons.
Yeah. So I have hope. Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi premieres May 25th, 2022 on Disney Plus. I think only 1 episode is coming out that first day, but it'll air weekly after that. And I'm sure at least one of us will see it as it happens. At least I know I will. Justin, I know you will.
I don't know. I don't know if I can stay away.
Yeah, Alex, I don't know if you will.
I don't know if I can stay away. It's just because it's Ewan McGregor, and I don't know if I can resist at least trying it out.
I mean, I probably can't resist because I mean, Obi-Wan is my favorite Star Wars character. So
unless like it just gets instantly shit on by everybody and like Star Wars fans, then I would.
Even Book of Boba Fett's pretty like down the middle, and I think this will be the same way. You'll have to find. I mean, if it's going to be bad in quotations, it'll be divisive, is what I meant, versus just downright negative.
You'll hear some people loving it, some people hating it,
because there are still people out there who love Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's true. Or Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Put it this way, I'm happy for those people that they enjoyed something, but not me.
Anyway, guys, let's get on today's main event. Matt, after what seems like forever, Matt Reeves The Batman is finally out in theaters. All 3 glorious hours of it.
That's such a good theme.
I want to say one thing before I get started. We are going to talk about spoilers right off the bat, right from the start. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, stop right now and come back after you see it. And you don't want to be spoiled. I'll just say that. Like, if you have any interest in seeing this movie, you haven't, stop right now. Watch it first. You're going to want to keep some of these surprises. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Yeah. There's not going to be a spoiler section and non-spoiler section. We're probably going to be getting the spoilers right from the beginning. But to start us off, guys, I guess there's only one question to ask. Was it worth the wait?
I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Because we saw the first trailer for it in October of 2020 at DC Fandom, which even for me, I was like, even if the movie is bad, this is one of the greatest teaser trailers I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And it turns out it's exactly what the movie basically is, like down to almost every level.
Right. Usually you get that thing, even in really good movies, where like you see the trailer and then what you see is a little bit different than when you're visiting it, not necessarily in a bad way, but like this was one where like seeing that trailer and seeing like what we saw, I mean, there were some things in a good way, like all the detective work I wasn't necessarily gonna fully expect, but like visually, aesthetically, like that's exactly how the movie feels.
Even down to the Nirvana song.
Yeah, which they played the action. Yeah, because I think wasn't the trailer like a cover, and then in the movie they used the real one.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
Because I know in the movie it was like the real one.
It was. The movie was the real one.
Yeah.
But so the Batman follows Bruce Wayne as Batman, played this time by Robert Pattinson, who is in his second year of crime fighting. So he's not like a full Batman yet, you know, not the full superhero, all the gadgets. He's crude, he's angry, he's violent, and he's coming into his own. And he's up against the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, who is murdering major Gotham City political figures and leaving clues to his motivations and overall plan at the scene to Batman. Batman also deals with Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz, the Penguin in played by a show stealing Colin Farrell, and a really surprisingly good villain turn, Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro.
He was in the movie more than I thought he was going to be.
Same, honestly.
And he's helped on his journey by James Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, and his butler Alfred, played by Andy Serkis. In a script written by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. Matt Reeves is also the director, and he killed it with this. The vision is consistent throughout it. You know exactly what he thinks the character should be, and I have to agree with his vision for the character.
It's so tightly plotted, and it's funny that like it feels very much like its own thing, its own very dark Batman kind of like very detective focused. It also like it's the one that's like the most reminiscent of like comic Batman, specifically like long Halloween kind of comic Batman. It's like exactly that.
Mm-hmm. It feels
like a different modern form. Batman.
Which is strange because I do agree with you, Alex. This movie to me feels like the most comic booky, at least for modern comics, 90s to now, of all the Batman movies released. Yet the actual movie has almost nothing to do with the comics. It has nothing in common with them.
It holds
whatsoever.
all the themes of what Long Halloween was, basically. It changes everything up because they're not going to do like a straight adaptation of Long Halloween. But I mean, the one thing I was happy with this movie is it's visually stunning and looks different than anything else we've seen so far. Like it's not like the MCU where it's like, oh, you could put all these movies together and they all look the same. It's like, no, they're trying new shit. They're long takes, rack focusing the shit out of scenes. It's like, yes.
I will say some shots to me didn't look great, specifically when Batman tries the wingsuit and jumps off. There's a couple weird shots where the camera's like mounted to his head, but like the framing looks all sorts of weird. Where Batman's head is like in like the top sixth of the screen, and the rest of it is just street.
I can forgive that because they're trying something different. It's not like your generic.
What this movie understands about comics that not a lot of adaptations do when it comes to visual media, especially comics, is that with comics and comic visuals, color palettes play a huge role. I mean, that's one of the key jobs of a comic book creator is the colorist. Everyone knows Watchmen because of the color scheme, because of the use of secondary colors versus primary colors as the main base of colors. And Matt Reeves understood that with the Batman of having a specific color palette, in this case reds and blacks, that you base the movie around, and you create that visual style from colors. Like Dark Knight looks amazing, but it also looks very much like a standard big budget movie, whereas the Batman has this beautiful color style to me.
I'm a sucker for the black and red kind of thing. I mean, like 2001, all the blacks and reds in that. Like, I'm a sucker for that one, and they used it so well. Just like it feels very ominous.
Well, like the first time he walks into the Iceberg Lounge was awesome.
Yeah.
Just all the red lights flashing.
This is a movie that I will say to anyone who's interested in seeing it, who shouldn't be listening, but if you are, see this in the nicest theater you possibly can. Like you are going to, even if it costs a little bit more, treat yourself. The movie deserves to be seen on super high quality screen.
I did. I saw it in a super screen, so I was glad I did.
Yeah, I saw it in an Alamo Big Show. I think, Alex, you bit the bullet. I think saw it at an AMC, right?
Yeah, so I didn't get into the IMAX showing or the Dolby showing, but the next best thing, which is AMC Prime, which is basically like Dolby without the Dolby Vision. So it's like the surround sound, it has that, and like the nice seats and shit. So I did that. And it was fantastic. Like seats shaking when the Batmobile comes up, and like it's so loud, but like the sound was fantastic. And the screen was still very, very good and very crisp. So like it was fantastic.
Now, one of the biggest stories with the Batman currently is that AMC is charging more just for Batman versus other movies. Alex, who saw it at AMC. So what's your thoughts on that? Are you okay with that?
No.
Okay.
I paid it. Am I okay with that? No. I can tell you how much I spent.
It was probably too much.
Well, yeah, because I bought 2 tickets. I went with Sam.
How much extra was it?
It was like $2 or $3 extra a ticket.
That's significant. People act like it's not. It's significant now.
It is. Plus, you pay tax on that extra money, which in LA, you're paying at 10% on top of that, and then 2 tickets. So that makes it go up. Like that's damn near $10 higher.
I'll give you my number. I'll because I saw it at Alamo, which isn't cheap either. I'll give you my number, and you can say it's higher or lower than what I paid. Because 2 tickets for me after ticket prices, the BS convenience fees that I still hate. Maybe because I hate them now because you basically are forced to buy movie tickets online. Otherwise, you won't get in. So it's not really a convenience fee. It's
convenient for them.
Yeah. But I paid, I think, for 2 tickets for me for a matinee at the Alamo was $35.
Higher.
Shit down. And
I thought that it was not not a matinee.
Okay, because I was at 35. I thought I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so if I had been able to do a matinee for like Dolby screening, which it just wasn't, there weren't seats, but it would have been around there.
So how much did you end up paying? Let's just say it. It's
$51.
probably important now with AMC charging more. It's important people know what they're getting into.
Yeah, because they hiked the price, and I think they did that like during the week because like it went up. But yeah, it was like $50.
Fuck,
over $50. Yeah, for the 2 tickets, plus then popcorn and a slushie, and and it goes up more.
You have to pay the girlfriend tax to see a nerd movie.
See, like this was like she also really liked it, but I was like, this made me think of, this is not an ad for AMC stubs. This made me think about getting AMC stubs because I'm like, did I really just spend more on this one screen than I would for a month of AMC stubs? I did.
Yeah, and that's and people wonder why movie theaters are in trouble. Why they're not to get off topic from movie for too long. People wonder why movie theaters are struggling. This is why.
It's too much.
Because two people, it cost $50 just to go see a movie. Now, granted, you went to a nicer screen, which probably had a premium attached to it. But at the same time, I mean, I paid $35. You paid $50. Justin, you saw it in Greg Vision or whatever the hell.
Which about $15 or $16.
Yeah, that's not cheap. Super screen is like 16, 17. Ultra screen is almost 20. Because I've seen a Marcus one too. Like,
wait, the Marcus Ultra screen is almost 20?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, that's like literally like what a fucking IMAX ticket costs.
It is. Because I might see the Batman in IMAX at the one get the IMAX theater left. The problem is money and time. Because it's so long, and I get it from AMC's perspective. To play devil's advocate, I could see AMC like, okay, so the Batman's 3 hours long, show times will be limited, and people are paying just as much for the Batman as they are movies that are half its length. Yet we're losing entire show time because of it, which isn't always the case because most movies are over 2 hours now, but I digress. They're losing some money based on just how long it is. So let's charge more and even it out. The problem is that's never been done before, and it's still kind of shady.
It was shady because it's just like it. Also, you saw like an article about it, just like it's not even prominent or whatever. And next thing you know, you're like, wait, what did I just read? And you're like reading it, you're like, holy hell, why?
It also artificially increases how much the movie made, and it worked. I mean, the numbers are there. The Batman made, I think, like 29% of its opening weekend gross just from AMC theaters.
Wow.
So it's not like people avoided AMC because of it.
Well, I think a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, they're big enough they can get away with it.
People probably didn't notice or whatever.
That's also part of it too. People are probably used to paying so much now that they just ate it.
Or yeah, you got all the people with stubs that like,
or that
they're just paying a subscription they didn't notice.
I mean, I want to go see more movies in theaters, and I used to be a big theater advocate. You guys know I'd see a movie a week in the theater pre-pandemic, and it's like I can't afford to do that.
Same. It's the time and money thing. Like I would love to go to more movies in the theater, but it's like it becomes a cost issue, and
well, not just the cost, but just
rethink it.
Like David said, a time thing. It's like for the Batman, you got to block out like 4 hours because like you got to worry about all the trailers beforehand and sit through those plus the 3 hour movie.
Yeah, plus drive time. Like you have to block out a lot. This movie, I don't like it. But that said,
this is the movie to do it for.
Yeah, getting back to the movie, I would gladly sit through this 3 hours again. I would. It does. I will admit, I was getting antsy by the end of it, but it's not like. But I was always entertained. I was never bored. I was gripped.
That's because it felt like it should have ended, but then it kept going. Like, oh, here's the epilogue.
It did kind of peak. It did do that weird thing where it had its act two. Its ending of act two felt like the climax.
Right, with Riddler and putting him in, and the stuff with Falcone, like that all like was kind of like the dramatic peak. Now, what came after it, there was still a lot of good stuff, but I would agree that like the dramatic peak was kind of around there because everything had built to that moment with all of the investigative work. So you do feel the runtime a little bit, but ultimately, I definitely think it earned it. But it is one where you feel it just a little bit, not necessarily a bad way, but you do kind of feel it.
I have noticed this movie specifically, people are judging it just because it's 3 hours, and and people act like movies can't be 3 hours.
I think they weren't moviegoers back in the past.
Well, you have to earn that 3 hours.
Yes.
Right.
Because there is something to say that, at least for me personally, I can do about 2 hours and 45 minutes. Once I hit that point, every minute after that feels like 10 minutes.
Unless you're like, unless you're like the Godfather or something, it's like, all right, like you don't feel it at all, but you've really got to earn that extra time.
Like
Wolf of Wall Street, which feels like 90 minutes.
Like Dune, I didn't feel it all either.
Yeah.
I think the Batman's biggest issue with this time is the way it's structured, in that the end of Act 2 does feel like the end because the story is resolved.
I mean, I would have been happy had, like, you noticed the Riddler went down the fire escape and just like got away, and we see like the Riddler getting away. Like I kind of wanted to see happen, and I would have been content. But then it's just like, nope, we caught him, and then something else was at the end.
But that said, I love the third act of this movie. Like to me, this third act is everything I love about Batman, and it's everything I love about what Matt Reeves did with the character.
Yeah, I love the whole Riddler internet fanatics thing. That was like, wow, that's a little real.
Well, they took the idea of the henchman and modernized it into people not following a crime boss, they're following an ideology, which is chilling. Like that's chilling, but it's so clever. To be fair, every time I saw those guys, my stupid brain always went, "It's the green bastard, parts unknown." But that one's for Justin.
And they set it up so well because like throughout the movie you do see like how corrupt Gotham is and how Riddler uses that, and you see like, you know, you have those moments with like the crowd or with groups of people who are like kind of starting to agree with that. Now you don't expect at the time that they're gonna like pick up guns and shit, but like, you know, they set it up before, and then you're like, oh shit.
But it makes sense. Like I can see why people would do this. It's sad they would have to resort to this, but I understand where these characters are coming from.
Yeah, and that's why it's just so, and that's how it earns that runtime. It's just so meticulously plotted. Like you're setting up this while also doing like the investigation of Riddler, which is always super compelling, and following the clues. Riddler is really smart. Batman's smart too. Like you just have this very intelligent plotting that leads to, when you get that big twist, it makes perfect sense.
Well, like you said, like
amazing.
You know everyone who's corrupted there, because like you have him broadcasting, him interrogating that like prosecutor guy. He's like, if you are justice, please do not lie. What was the price for your blind eye? And he's just like throws out this random huge number, and everyone's like, bro.
Yeah. Well, and you get that amazing scene right before that at the funeral of the one dude complaining about the rich people who turns out to join the Riddler. Amazing callback. Like that's such good writing.
Yeah, I remember when we were watching Sam, like Sam could like tell it was significant. She's like, who the fuck is that? She was like, did I like miss somebody? I'm like, no, it's just like a random crowd guy. And then he came back later and it was like, oh.
Oh yeah, when he was talking and Bruce was listening to him, I'm like, yep, he's coming back later. Calling it.
Yeah. And of course, like Justin, like you said, Riddler's traps are so good. They move the story forward, like with Peter Sarsgaard's character, who I feel like that was a misuse of Peter Sarsgaard. Mm-hmm. He's such a good actor, and then throw him in just a bit role like that was like, oh, he could have been so much more. But it builds this mystery and it builds this world.
I was just happy that the Riddler actually had riddles that needed to be solved, unlike Jim Carrey's.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Honestly, like setting up like the serial killer Riddler in the trailers and like in all the pre-release stuff. I guess I maybe wasn't expecting to see many of them at all, but like they were actually crucial to the story. And it also like it makes Riddler very intelligent because he literally says it during the movie, and when he says it, I realized like, oh shit, he has been doing that. How he kind of uses Batman sometimes to like get things done.
Yep.
Well, he leaves him this breadcrumb trail.
Well, because he thinks like he and Batman are on the same team. Mm-hmm. He says Batman inspired him, which I will say is my least favorite modern day Batman trope, is the idea that Batman causes more harm than good. He inspires evil, doesn't defeat it, that he has all this excess damage. They do it every storyline, and it annoys me because every storyline has to be, do we really need a Batman? And I'm sick of it. This movie did it kind of right with the whole Riddler being like, yeah, I saw you fight fighting corruption. I want to fight corruption too. Batman's like, no, wrong way.
It also works because instead of asking like, oh, do we need a Batman or whatever, it's not asking that. It's more so like the central theme of it is like Batman needs to find a different reason to be fighting crime, and like it's like to inspire hope and like save the city instead of for vengeance, because that's also what Riddler's doing, and that's also what this person and that person are doing, and he like needs to find a different reason to be Batman, especially when he sees that he's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it's a really good theme for the character to kind of switch him from being driven by hate and anger and more like be a symbol of what the city needs.
Well, it's also fun him be like, no one calls him Batman, they call him Vengeance.
Yep. No one calls him Batman at the very end.
Mm-hmm. It was also fun though, like with the Riddler, like he actually stumps Batman though at one point, because it's like he's looking for a bird, so they assume the penguin when actually it's Falcone.
Yeah, that was good. Penguin's like, do you know you fucking speak Spanish? Colin Farrell is so good in this. He's so good in this.
Colin Farrell, I've never seen someone get so into prosthetics, because normally when you see the heavy prosthetic role, normally you see that the person's having a really bad time. Like you can tell that they're trying but they're not enjoying it. There is something that like freed Colin Farrell when he put on that makeup, because he fully becomes that character in every way, shape, and form. Every time
he was on screen, I was like, I'm trying to find where Colin Farrell is in this.
Can't see him.
Like
he completely becomes the penguin. This weird kind of waddle he has that is a limp, but they kind of make him to a waddle.
Especially when they handcuff his legs together, and he's just like, "Hey, you're just gonna leave me here?" And he's like waddling away. There's this good cop and batshit cop.
He's so much fun. He takes control of every scene he's in because he's having a blast. There's a reason why he's getting his own TV show.
I mean, like, his introduction scene alone, where he's just like, "Hey, sweetheart, calm down. Let's just talk."
Where he does De Niro better than De Niro has in the past 10 years. I saw his Hot Ones interview where he talked about doing the movie, and he's like, "I loved it. The makeup was so freeing. I could just be myself. Like I didn't have to worry. I could just be the penguin."
Yeah, and like people on set were literally like didn't know it was him. He just like showed up on set like that. Like, let's go.
Well, I remember when the images leaked, like the on-set images leaked, everyone thought that he was going to be Emperor Penguin because he had like the weird kind of quaff haircut. I was like, oh crap! Like here we go. And then that first trailer drops, and no one knew Colin Farrell was in it until someone like told everyone. Yeah. Like, oh my god, that's Colin Farrell. Everyone's like,
because
really?
we were like, yeah, where's Colin Farrell? I thought he was going to be, and then you see it, like, wait, what?
That was the thing for the trailer. I was like, you knew it was Penguin. It's like, wait, didn't they cast Colin Farrell to be Penguin? You're like, I don't see him.
Well, because I don't think anyone expected the heavy prosthetic makeup look.
I did not.
I think we all expected Penguin to just be Colin Farrell in a fur coat.
Mm-hmm. With like a penguin cane or something.
Yeah, and he was going to talk in an Irish accent and be all charismatic Colin Farrell, and instead he's the fucking Penguin. Like, I know this is like sacrilege in the Batman community, but he's a better Penguin than Danny DeVito was.
No, most definitely.
His Penguin was weird. I love Batman Returns. I love that movie. But he's some mutant penguin man.
He has an army of penguins in that movie.
like
come on, guys.
He's not smart.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot.
I know you're nostalgic for them being the first ones, but come on, guys.
Yeah. The movies haven't aged the greatest. I recently watched the first Tim Burton one for the first time in like 15 years, and I liked it more than I did the first time. But it's still like that is an inconsistent movie. Batman's not even the main character. Vicky Vale is. At least Nolan and Reeves kind of made Batman movies. I mean, Pattinson's probably in that suit for 80% of the movie or more.
Oh yeah, he is. Like at least 80.
Yeah, he's in at least 80% of the movie.
And I liked what they did with it because it's like, yeah, he has really until the end, besides like, finding a different reason besides vengeance, is also like he just is Batman. Like he's not even Bruce Wayne until like the end where he starts to like actually like be a person again because he's just like a total recluse and only does Batman stuff. And he kind of, I'm guessing the next one will probably be also about that, like him kind of being himself again a little more. But
Probably just
like I love what they did
roles.
with that. He's the gross, sweaty emo kid hunched over his computer in Batman makeup.
Well, even he says he becomes nocturnal. He's up only like at night. He keeps a journal of everything he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea for the character. I really, because we've only seen billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne, not creepy weirdo recluse Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, this is what Sam told me, and like it made me laugh, but it's just like very true. She's like, this is literally how I've always pictured how Bruce Wayne would actually be.
Yeah, because it kind of is.
Like, yeah.
Well, that's because he's not trying to be the playboy guy. He's just being himself. Basically, he's being Batman.
Yeah. He wants to be Batman.
And like he literally until towards the end as Bruce Wayne, he literally talks to like no one except like he talks to Alfred, like wants to tell him he's not his dad. But like
you're not that real dad.
He only talks to people as Batman until he goes to see Falcone.
And like that was like the only scene like I really had the only thing I really had a problem with that was like his hair was like draped in front of his face. I'm like, come on, dude, just push the hair out of your face. But it was like such a minute little thing. It was like, it was whatever. But it was just like, it annoyed me. I was like, dude, there's hair in your eye. Just move it.
Well, I love that Matt Reeves played with Bruce Wayne because I saw an article on this and I kind of have to agree with it. They made the comment that like every Bruce Wayne on film has felt like an adaptation of the Dark Knight Returns Batman, of that crazy kind of psychotic Batman, of the guy who basically is like, I am Batman, and just starts punching random people. And it was good to see a reverse of that trend where the movie is about him kind of realizing that that's not how he should be. He needs to be something else.
Yeah, I mean Nolan did that too, I think, but
not as much as this. Nolan
I would agree
is still very much kind of the Dark Knight Returns Batman in a lot of ways. Also, can we just give it up for Robert Pattinson and just all the haters can finally shut up?
Yeah, he was fantastic, and I think like seeing him in The Lighthouse and Good Time and like and other things. I mean, Tenet as well. He was good in that movie. Like I've known he was a good actor, but I was even surprised in this how good he was,
but
particularly as Batman.
He's in Twilight though, so he's bad.
And Kristen Stewart's up for an Oscar. She was in Twilight too.
I know, but that's everyone's whole argument was like, Batman, you mean with the Twilight guy?
Have you seen that script?
Well, that's the problem is people only remember their worst performance. It's just like,
well, Pattinson went and did Indies and rocked it. I mean, Good Time is great. The Lighthouse, he keeps up with Willem Dafoe. Like he equals Willem Dafoe's level of crazy,
which is like impossible.
Although seeing interviews with Robert Pattinson, he might be a little crazy.
Well, or he's just really good at playing crazy. I mean, he loves messing with the media. Some of his interviews for the Batman are some of the greatest.
Condiment Man.
What would you say?
Yeah, he literally just had the one where he was like, "I want to see Condiment Man in a movie," and I'm like, "Yeah, he's fucking with you."
Yeah, or the one where they asked him how'd you get into character, and he's like, "I play Sonic Adventure 2 Dark Mode," and got really in touch with Shadow the Hedgehog. Like. He's definitely messing with you if that's his answer. Well, or he's legitimately fucking insane.
Well, it was also funny learning, like, I think in a recent interview, he's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have joked that I wasn't working out during quarantine for the movie because that blew up really badly. And I'm like...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, people just will take anything, and he's like just fucking with them.
I'm glad he has a sense of humor about it. I mean, have fun. Why not?
Well, you're Batman.
Kind of what you said, Justin. This movie's a miracle even came out because like it started and stopped because of COVID like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And just like that, it's a miracle it came out in terms of like besides that and those problems. It's also just like, yeah, we're going to make a 3-hour movie where Batman chases a serial killer and like there's not going to be any giant action set pieces until the very end. I mean, like there's big action, but there's not like that that fucking MCU big action scene, or even like, you think about the Nolan ones and like the bank robbery scene, or there's just not the scale to it, which works for this movie. But it's,
that car chase though was like top tier. That was great.
Yeah, that was amazing because it felt grounded. It felt grounded and real.
Yeah. Like he's trying to escape him, and Penguin's just like, well, I'm gonna cause a big ass crash. He's just like, I got him. I got you. And then also, fuck.
And that's one thing that this movie might have on Nolan, in my opinion, is just the tech is appropriately crude. Mm-hmm. Like the Batmobile isn't some abandoned tank concept. It's a legit like souped up car that misfires the first time he tries and goes after Penguin. That's such a good scene. We just rev it up for us all like 30 seconds, and then boom, nothing happens. Everyone just fucking runs for it.
I'm like, I want that car. I was like, get out of my way on the highway.
It's really cool.
Dude, I bought that Lego set of that car like the next day after I saw this movie. I was at Walmart like, I'm buying that. It's such a cool Batmobile. I was waiting until after I saw the movie because I didn't want to buy the Lego set when the movie's shit.
You didn't like the car?
No, but the car is awesome. Like it's such a good ass Batmobile. But like he only has like the grappling gun as a gadget. What you see is maybe the start of a Batarang, where the symbol on his chest becomes like a utility knife.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
which is cool.
That was cool, but wait till like all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna cut something, and it's just like police tape. It's like, really? That's what you pulled that out to cut? You could cut a lot of other things along the way, but you know what? That police tape, that's some tough shit.
And we also might have seen Venom in this movie as well.
Yep, that has to be Venom.
It has to be.
The way it glows green.
The green shit he injected into himself at the end of the movie.
Oh, you're right.
That had to be Venom. That had to be setting that up.
Yeah, because it's green, it lit up, and he went into a freaking primal rage after he got injected with it. I'm like, that's basically everything Venom is.
Which means we might get an adaptation of the Batman Venom storyline at some point, which is a really interesting Batman story. That's the one where he becomes addicted to Venom and goes insane. I
was gonna say that's where he gets addicted, ain't it?
Yeah, because he fails to save a child because he wasn't strong enough to like live after great. So he becomes addicted to Venom. It's a very good storyline. Which I will say, like the Venom thing in this movie, I think sums up this whole film, where there's so many subtle nods to old Batman lore, like the old comics, the movies, the shows, just these subtle references that I appreciated because they weren't like heavy-handed. It wasn't like Marvel where the movie ends and it's like, instead the one meme says like Blorko shows up, goes, "Hey, I'm Blorko," and the movie ends. You
get a nice zoom shot and them going, I wonder what this is. It's just like in the space, because the whole movie feels like a very fully realized world, and they take so many steps to make it feel like its own world. And that's one thing they do. It's like, oh, here's this reference here, here's this thing here. You might see it, you might not, but it's there.
Well, the good thing is they also don't focus on it. Like, stay an extra second on a windowsill that says something, and you're like, well, that must have meant something.
Yeah, there's not like a moving plant ever goes, oh my god, poison ivy, which I'm starting to hate in movies now. No, this movie did it right. If there was probably the weakest character of the movie, in my opinion, is probably Catwoman.
Yeah,
I'm also not the biggest fan of Catwoman as a character, just in general. But
see, I'll disagree slightly. Like, I mean, it's not like Catwoman 2 is like the best character, but I do feel they did a pretty good job.
I didn't say she was bad. I said that she's the weakest part of the movie.
Fair. I mean, there's not much. I will get to my one thing later, but I would agree. I mean, there's not much to pick on, so.
Yeah, I'm not saying Catwoman's bad in this movie. I think Zoe Kravitz, who I was not the happiest when she was cast as Catwoman, because I thought that there were better choices. I thought she did really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very good.
She
looks like a cat.
I might disagree with you on her being the weakest. I think it might be Alfred, just because he's not in it much, but they want to play on that. But they want to play on that dynamic of Bruce and Alfred. It's just like, but we haven't seen you guys together that much.
Alfred's in this movie, which was because they cast Andy Serkis when he was doing Venom 2. I don't know why they cast. I get that Serkis and Reeves are friends from Planet of the Apes, but because of his schedule, he can barely be in this movie, and he's Alfred.
Yeah, and I think interesting. Like, I think they got away with it because we kind of talked about him being a recluse, like, and not talking to anybody. He really like tries to do everything himself, other than he does kind of try to use Catwoman, but then it becomes like more than just using her, like he actually cares about her. But he does kind of tend to not rely on anybody else until the end when he has to.
That's not entirely true, because one of the best parts of this, my favorite part, is that we got tons of scenes of Batman and Gordon solving mysteries together.
Right, which is when he starts to rely on people, I think. But yeah, that was fantastic.
I'm so happy we finally got that. I don't think that Jeffrey Wright was as good as Gary Oldman, per se, as the character. But I love that we finally got to see them work together and try and solve mysteries. It's really something we haven't seen in a Batman.
Yeah, because I mean, I love the dynamic in the Nolan movies between those two, but this was like something that hasn't been tapped into. That especially, it reminded me. This is obviously Batman in year 2, but it reminded me so much of year 1, the graphic novel, right? Like those two like starting to trust each other and like solving things together.
Buddy cop movie. Hey,
yeah.
No guns. Stop drive. That's your way, buddy.
Like Matt Reeves has such a clear vision for this that is on display. That, I mean, I love Matt Reeves. I mean, we did an episode on Planet of the Apes. I love his Planet of the Apes movies a lot, which is why I was so happy when he was like, I think that you and me, Justin, were at least living together when his movie was announced, or we left shortly before it was announced. Because I remember, I think both of us were like, yes, it's Matt Reeves. Holy shit! Like we both like super happy.
Yeah, like I've been happy since the moment he was picked to direct this movie. I'm like, if it was someone, especially considering it was Affleck, because he was Batman at that point, but like if you're picking any director to do Batman, like he's your guy.
And Warner trusted him to do his own thing, because I think initially they wanted him to just direct Affleck's script, and he didn't want to do it. He wanted to do his own version.
And I mean, he said all the right things the whole time, and then that came to fruition. Like he knew the character, and it was also, to me, like I thought he was such a perfect choice. But it was, so he's done Apes, but is that going to be like a one-time thing, or has he become like a big director? And like this proves that he's a big-time director now, and also that he has his own style and vision, and like is really like a director who has a vision on what he works on. So now, like whatever he does, like what a Matt Reeves movie is, right? Like he has his thing now and executes it really well. So this was huge for him,
because the movie is very meticulous. Well, like you can tell that there was tons of takes, because Pattinson even said that there was tons of takes, not a lot of coverage, just doing the same thing over and over again, just getting it right, getting it perfect.
There are times where you could see kind of like people are a little out of position of where they are when they cut sometimes.
But I mean, that is what it is. Every movie has
it has them, but I mean, you can see them.
Yeah, because that's an interesting thing. Like this is like going way back, but that's actually like a thing that you can see in like Kubrick movies too. And Kubrick is like the most meticulous person, but like he would always prioritize like the emotion of the cut. But there are some you can see where it's like, oh, the alignment isn't quite right, but it's hard to see because like it's so focused.
And Matt Reeves also knew how to do an action scene, because like the third act of this movie, which is Riddler blowing the flood walls of Gotham and flooding Gotham, a la Zero Year for all you fellow comic nerds, and basically trying to wash Gotham away and rebuild it from the ground up, is such an amazing climax, just because how he does it. He didn't focus on Roland Emmerich style action. He focuses on the people on the ground and just the chaos of that moment of the few people trying to keep Gotham together as all hell breaks loose.
Are you ready for my one thing about this movie?
God,
I don't think you're gonna fight me that much. It's not like a huge thing, because I still love the movie.
I will fight you just to fight you, and you know it.
Okay, that's true. So to me, the blowing up the seawall thing was completely out of nowhere and doesn't fit the movie at all. And to me, felt like the studio said, we need a big, giant action CGI moment, and we need to use $50 million more of our budget.
See, I disagree solely because the Riddler recently did that in the comics at a similar point in Batman's career.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it was more like, in a movie that's so meticulously plotted, it was the one thing that felt out of left field, and then I can't look back and go like, okay, I can see how the Riddler was setting that up, versus like having all of these armed people who show up to try and like shoot the mayor. That felt very much in line with the rest of the movie.
I disagree solely because the Gotham Renewal Fund plays such a big role in that movie that the Riddler twisting it into renewal meaning a different thing, I think fits thematically with what they were going for.
I can agree with that. I just thought the seawall was too like big for him. If that makes sense. Like it
really
felt too big compared to the rest of the movie.
Yeah, like I agree with Alex. Like that last area, the last half hour kind of felt like some studio notes were in there.
But they fought on top of the Jumbotron, which I've always wanted to do.
Oh, that was
cool.
Perfect. That part of it I loved, and like I said, like the thought of like them, showing up there to shoot the mayor and like this big place and fighting on the Jumbotron, like that all felt perfectly in line with the movie. Like, and like I also feel like the flooding didn't, other than like cramming that many people in there, it didn't feel like it actually affected the climax very much because like it floods and then it's like, okay, we have water now.
See, my guess is Reeves. I think Reeves wanted that because I'm thinking back to like the Apes movies, and he loves like environmental effects and finales. That's a very Matt
like we talked about in War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, even Don kind of had that because the climax is when the tower collapses.
Oh, that's true.
And they're fighting as the tower collapses. So because so Matt Reeves loves to have climaxes where people fight on a deteriorating environment.
See, we had to have a scene where Batman jumped across on an electrical wire and then cut it and shocking himself before he fell in the water because he didn't want everyone else to get electrocuted.
And then you had, and then at the end of that movie where Batman realizes he needs to be a symbol of hope, because this movie was a master of callbacks. Like the fact that the opening has, which that's a beautiful opening of all the people like committing crimes and they see the bat symbol up in the sky and then
that was so cool.
Out.
If the Dark Knight opening was a great portrayal of what the Joker is, this opening was a great portrayal of what Batman is.
Yeah, I could like visualize how that appeared on the page, like how it was written. It was that well done that I knew exactly what he was writing for it. But at the end, you get the bat symbol again, but it means hope, not fear. Like boom, that's how you connect the dots. It's really simple, but it's effective.
Not there.
Can we bring up one thing quick that we have to admit that we were kind of wrong on? Because as much as we didn't want this to be the case, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but I know we mentioned it off recording. Barry Keoghan's role of how much we made fun of the fact that everyone was like, is Barry Keoghan Joker? And
Barry Keoghan is Joker.
I think I just saw an interview with Matt Reeves saying or an article saying he's not even, the next one's not even have the Joker or anything, and I'm like, then why is he even here?
No, it's not what he said. He said he doesn't know if Joker's going to be in it because he hasn't written it yet. Matt Reeves does movie by movie. He doesn't know what the Batman 2 is yet.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
His point in that interview, where the interview too, was to calm down all of the MCU people who are used to the endings being teasers of what's to come. Because everyone was like, is that the Joker? Who is that? I don't know. Sequel bait. And Matt Reeves was like, well, yes, it's the Joker. No shit. And I love it based on it. And then was like, and it wasn't really a sequel bait. I don't know what the next movie is gonna be yet.
And this is something we'll get to in a little bit, but when I already saw the spoiler article titles, that made me know instantly that Joker was going to show up at the end. My worry was that he would have a direct effect on this plot, or it was going to be okay, now the next one's going to be Joker already. I think when I actually saw the execution, and I was worried about the Joker being in to an extent, but I ended up liking the execution of it because number one, it's more about the Riddler in that moment, and because he's completely hopeless, and then it gives him that push to keep going and to be a factor later on. Second, that also from a Matt Reeves interview, that this isn't really Joker yet, so he's not fully Joker yet, which again means that it won't be right away. And third, I like the idea. Again, he hasn't written these movies yet, so I don't know where he's going to go with it. But just the fact that those two already have a relationship, I like the idea of Joker interacting with other villains, and I like the idea that they're both in Arkham to set up an Arkham Asylum type shit.
Well, there's an Arkham show coming. They have confirmed that the GCPD show has turned into an Arkham show. Mm-hmm. Matt was also confirmed in the interviews that Joker was supposed to appear earlier in a Silence of the Lamb's Hannibal Lecter type moment where Batman was going to profile Riddler by using the Joker, but he cut that because it didn't really affect anything.
I'm glad he cut that.
Yeah, I think that would be too distracting.
It was effective. In fact, he almost cut Barry Keoghan from the movie completely until he realized that, like you said, Alex, his scene with the Riddler is more about the Riddler than is the Joker.
Yeah, I
just
think it's necessary for that reason.
The issue with that scene is that he's in shadow, so it has like that mystery. So everyone's gonna go, I don't know who is that, even though there's been leaked images of the first scene he's in, where he's clear as day in light in the film. He's clearly revealed. But how they do Joker is also kind of clear to. It makes it clear to me that Matt Reeves might have played the Telltale Batman games at some point.
Ooh.
Because he kind of borrowed some stuff from it, like with Joker being Jack, which is the strongest part of those games. And
the thing with his family.
Yeah, the thing with his family, which I love we're seeing darker depictions of the Wayne family and people realizing that people being that rich probably didn't have completely clean slates.
And it's again, it works perfectly with this theme because, you know, in both ways, like not just like that he shouldn't be pursuing vengeance like that, but also he's pursuing vengeance for an idea of who his parents were.
Yep.
And he has to find a better reason than that because, it's like also turns out your parents aren't quite who you thought they were necessarily.
Which they didn't go full Telltale because they still betrayed Thomas Wayne as a good man who just made a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you also get the brilliant scenes of Carmine Falcone manipulating everyone, much like he does it in the comics, which John Turturro did beautifully. Great casting.
Yeah, he was so good.
Again, I didn't expect him to be in it that long. I assumed Penguin and him would be kind of flipped, where Penguin was more in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to have Carmine get out of the way so Penguin can take charge.
Yeah.
Which we'll see next in either the Penguin show or whatever the next movie is. Which probably have some No Man's Land type stuff in it, where Penguin will have a lot of power.
I'm guessing he'll be the main crime.
The segue a little bit, Alex. You kind of alluded to this a couple minutes ago, but the Batman to me was the breaking point of an issue that's been plaguing media for the past couple years now, and that is these vulture-like spoiler articles spoiling the movie in the headline that pop up by 8 a.m. the day a big movie or TV show is released. It's a serious issue.
Mm-hmm. Whoever's first.
Where I'm not even looking for them. Those pop up in my Google feed or on Facebook, and some of them are like super evil and will just straight up spoil a movie. Others will be like, "What does this mysterious cameo mean at the end of the movie?" Which obviously doesn't tell you what the cameo is, but now you know there's a cameo.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was right. So it already sucks knowing that that's a spoiler. And then with Batman, it's much worse because I fucking know who it is. You can't tell me there's a mysterious character that pops up at the end of this movie in a cameo in a Batman movie, especially not to fucking know it's Joker. Like, There's literally one character who's worth being a surprise in Batman, and it's the Joker.
To be fair, throughout this movie, there is one character could have possibly been, and that would have been Hush. I mean, they played on Hush a lot.
They did, but it was clearly Joker.
Yes.
Like, I'm an Alex.
It's one of those things, like, it could be a surprise in the movie, but, like, I don't think there would be as many articles if it was Hush.
True.
If they did Barry Keoghan as Hush, I would actually be really okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely Joker.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's, you get right away first day, it's like the appearance of spoiler, and it's like that is a way of spoiling it. And then now literally, like, it's been a week since this movie came out, and now they just post the full spoiler on the article. Like, they'll just say Joker now, and they'll just say, like, oh, in this hallway fight scene, the bullets were real to make the muzzle flashes. It's like it's been a week and you're straight spoiling everything now openly.
It's a serious issue that's been plaguing movies for a long time. Spider-Man had that issue where within a week everyone talked about the movie. Book of Boba Fett had that same problem.
I've already seen scenes from that basically.
Turning back to Mando season 2 was kind of when it got really big. But now it's a serious problem. Maybe it's just when I know this, but now it's a serious problem.
No,
to
it's
me.
just because all these sites or whatever, it's like they want to be the first one to get it out there. So they're like, here it is. I don't care if you haven't seen it yet. It's like, I want to be the first one that you click on.
And when we say the sites, I'm talking specifically about, and I'll call them up right now: Screen Rant, Rock Paper Shotgun, Giant Freaking Robot.
Screen it.
IGN.
They always do that.
IGN's better, but they've gotten worse because they're forced to, because of shit like Screen Rant doing it right at the beginning.
And this shows how bad it's gotten. Where did I see I stayed off the internet. I checked one place because I wanted to stay up to date on some things. Just to show how bad it's gotten. I would expect more from Variety, but that's where I fucking saw it. A fucking trade magazine. Like, it was literally like the appearance, discusses the appearance of Spoiler. I'm like, that's the fucking Joker. And that was it. It was on Variety.
That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, and that's like a reputable, like, industry news focused source that's doing this kind of shit. You can't escape it.
No, and it's for everything now. And part of it is people want to be spoiled. It seems there is this like when Spider-Man No Way Home came out. We talked about this, I think, briefly in our episode on that. Shameless plug. That people were like wanting Garfield and Maguire to be in the trailer. Like they were like begging for it, wanting it, and when it didn't happen, they were like legitimately upset. Don't you people like being surprised?
Well, it's even like the new Doctor Strange trailer with freaking Patrick Stewart's voice, and it's like, why put that in the trailer? Come on, guys. I bet he's barely in the movie. Just save it for the movie.
The articles from that movie are going to be atrocious.
Yeah,
because of all the cameos rumored to appear. It's also rumored that a lot of them got cut for the final movie. But for how many cameos, like the rumored Tom Cruise one that's got a lot of traction, the rumored Deadpool one that's got a lot of traction. Again, these are just rumors. We don't know either way, but it's also part of the issue too, right? The rumor mill for some of these movies has gotten insane, where you know they're lying. A lot of the Batman ones turned out to be kind of true. Mm-hmm. That like they were testing two versions, one with Barry Keoghan, one without him. Like that turned out to actually be true. But some of them, it's like, God, why is movie media so garbage now? Why is it all just? It's like ESPN levels of just hot takes, rumor baiting,
unsubstantiated claims.
Yeah, and all like these leaks, and people eat it up because they want to know what happens before it happens. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, like if you're gonna see the movie, why would you want it spoiled?
But like I remember when Endgame came out, and people were like basically saying, "Don't you fucking dare spoil this movie!" And now it's, please spoil the movie.
I want to know
before I see it.
Because then you're just gonna be sitting in the theater like, when's it happening? Come on, when's it gonna happen? And then you'll be disappointed that it didn't happen till the end, and you'll completely miss the rest of the movie.
But that's an issue too with like trailers now. Is now the trailers show way too much. Now you're like, well, I know this person is okay because this scene from the trailer hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's always really annoying. Like, well, I know there's another scene coming up.
Because
honestly, I've tried really hard not to watch trailers anymore, but it's just like, how do I know if I'm interested in a movie if I don't at least see somewhat of what's going on in the film, you know?
Well, in the Batman's interesting to me because the more trailers I saw, the less my hype, the more my hype kind of died. But then, I mean, I'm very happy with this final. I'm very happy with it. But that movie almost had too many trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and me, I only watched the first trailer.
No, you said a second one. We watched it live. I was there.
I thought that was the first. I thought that was the first one.
No. There was one before that, like a whole year before that.
That was like the.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that trailer.
That was amazing.
The one we watched was like basically like the final like ta-da trailer.
No. We watched the second trailer. The third trailer was the final one was the Bat and Cat one. That's kind of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw. That's the one I never watched.
I didn't choose to watch it. It played it in a movie I saw.
That's always sucks too.
But that said, I'm very happy with this movie. The reception to it, both financially and critically, has been very well. But there is kind of a polarized fan response to it. The length being the big thing, but honestly, movies can be long. Watch it at home if that's an issue, right? Even though not every movie needs to be 3 hours. Isn't Spider-Man No Way Home like like 2 hours, like 40 minutes.
Some shit like
it's,
that.
close.
Yeah, like it's average movie length is pushing closer and closer to 3 hours, where people can't get that upset anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like every MCU movie now is like 2.5.
Oh, it's 2 hours and 28 minutes.
It
Yeah,
felt
it's like 2.5 hours.
Shorter than I
Felt
thought
like
it
8
was.
hours.
But you also got to factor in, like, that also includes credits and stuff. So technically it's like a little shorter than that.
I also think it wouldn't be as big of a problem if movie trailers weren't fucking over 20 minutes long.
Yes.
Yeah, that is an issue too.
Like,
If you
there
just let
should
me
be
see
like
a couple trailers that because you've already seen all these trailers.
Here's what theaters should do. If the movie's over 2.5 hours, cut the trailers down to half. If it's under that, do your 20 minutes of trailers. I don't care.
Well, part of it isn't the theater's choice. Part of it is they're forced to by the companies.
True.
Yeah, I just don't understand it anymore because like I said, most of these trailers we've seen.
See, you can't do that because people, not necessarily at all theaters, but especially at AMC's, I've noticed, have become dependent on the fact there's 20 minutes of trailers and don't show up at start time. Like I've been to AMC a couple times in full showings that are dead ass empty until the trailers start. Like,
and I mean, it's hard to blame them.
At an event screening where there is no trailers and people start coming in the middle of the movie.
Yeah,
that's what's irritating.
So if you start limiting the amount of trailers and stuff, people who've become dependent on the extra trailers now all of a sudden will miss the movie and will complain like no tomorrow, even though they're kind of in the wrong.
True.
I mean, give it some time, they would adjust. I think that because really they're showing up late because they don't want to watch all the trailers.
I also think that in some theaters, not saying every movie should have an intermission that's over a certain length, but maybe have some screens that have intermissions. Not all of them, but maybe have like a couple of screens a day that have intermissions. I get why they don't, because it adds more time onto an already long movie. That makes it harder to have more showings already. But
yeah, but it'd be nice for a longer movie. I mean, obviously that's how it used to be done. Like if it's 3 hours, give me an intermission.
I think people would actually really, really like that, especially with something like this, where I just want to pee and then so I can enjoy the
I know. I hate having to literally okay, I'm gonna cut off drinking water 2 hours before this movie, so I don't have to piss right at the end of the second act.
Well, that's all right.
Because my body's like, oh, good, this movie's ending. I'm at home. Like, it's nice to know writing structure too, because I'm like, oh, that was the midpoint. Pause. Go to the bathroom.
Well, that's like I got to the theater like 5 minutes before the trailers start, and then during the trailers, I went down 3 trips to the bathroom to make sure I got everything out before I watched the movie.
Yeah. No, you go multiple times, and then I get in there and we ordered a slushie, and I was refusing to drink it because I'm like, I don't want to have to pee, and then I ate too much popcorn and I got the kernels in my throat, and I'm like, fuck, I need the fucking slushie now.
Yeah, you're sitting there trying to hack up a lung.
Well, that's the thing is I rarely get anything when I go to the movie theaters because I don't want to have to run to the bathroom at all. But if I do occasionally, I'll wait till I know I'm halfway through the movie, and then I'm like, okay, because that way at least if I have to pee a half hour before, I'm like, I can hold that.
Especially a movie like Batman, where I mean, there is God's greatest invention, which is the Run Pee app. That is so stupid, but I love it.
See, I should.
Yeah, no, I'm just if it's a good movie, there's no wasted time, and I want to see every second, so I'll just tough it up. But yeah, now I've literally just developed a system, but now I'm like, I shouldn't have to do this. They should just give me an intermission.
I remember I went to a movie, and I had to go, and I hated the movie. I'm like, I don't even care. I'm like, I got up and walked.
I remember the last time I went during a movie was War for the Planet of the Apes. And I walked back in, and it was when I was gone was when Caesar and all of them kill Blue Eye's family or whatever the fuck, and then they take Blue Eyes, and I come back and there's just a child with them. And I'm like, okay.
I didn't miss much.
But yeah, I'm at that point, and then I just developed this system. But yeah, I wish they would bring intermission back, which they never will. How about this? I've got it, guys. I've solved the crisis.
Yep.
So no, actually, this would be fucking terrible. I don't want this. I literally just came up with the worst idea ever.
No, I've got to say it now.
Yeah, because I thought about intermission, and I was like, what if they just played trailers during intermission?
That's a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea.
That'd be funny. You're just in this depressing movie. The next thing you know, you got like a happy comedy in the middle of it going, come see our movie. And then you got some guy crying in the corner, go fuck off.
Actually doing most theaters, which is those just stupid before movie ads. Which
I feel like they would do something like that because intermission should really be like just have music on it or have nothing at all.
Isn't the Chevy commercials or whatever?
God,
they're not real they're real people, and they're on the bottom. These are paid actors.
I miss all days where you get like the trivia slides and stuff.
Yeah, those were always fun.
Yeah, now it's just more ads and shit. It's like, thanks for coming before the movie. I didn't, but you're welcome.
I remember we got
new paradigm in cinema.
I remember when we went to go see it, and they were all just like, "Go get your tickets for this movie in the thing," and then some guys just like, "Start the movie." They're just like, "How about no?"
Yeah, how about no? Start the movie. I mean, the best experience at us in the movie theater was probably Wonder Woman when they didn't turn the lights on at the end, and no one knew if it was done or not. And this one dude walked in and said, I mean, he was some teenager, but he was pretty rude. He basically walked in because you weren't there for this, Justin. It was me, my wife, and two other people. We went inside Wonder Woman, and the movie started like 30 minutes late. There was some projector issue, and so they're way behind. And then the movie ends, and they try to get everybody out, and the lights aren't on. And this teenager pretty rudely was like, "Okay, folks, show's done, time to leave." And this old grandma just goes, "Then turn the lights on." Like, and I had to like not just die laughing in the movie theater.
Well, it's like when we went to go see Jungle Book and the lights didn't turn off.
Dude, that sucked. Because that was 3D. That was hell. We couldn't see shit.
It's bad. I forget. There was one movie. I can't remember which one it was, but there was one I saw not too long ago where the lights didn't turn off, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, Marcus Oshkosh had that issue for a while where someone must have complained about the lights being off, being dark and tripping or some shit. Because for like I saw like 3 months they were on until the end that people complained that they couldn't see the movie anymore.
And then as soon as the movie was over and credits rolled, like the lights went to full 100, and you're like, "Oh my eyes."
Yeah, like it was someone must have complained that like probably the old people that come in at like 2 in the afternoon on a Thursday were like, it's too dark. Even though like when I'm in a movie theater, I want that room to be pitch black.
Yeah, same.
I want no lights. I want to be in the darkest room possible.
Yeah, I mean, I can handle the running lights, that's fine, but everything else should be like pitch black except for the projector.
Yeah. And the nice thing about like most of the nicer AMC screens is like they do have like the light up floor ones, but because of how the seating is structured, it kind of goes like upward, so you can't see it.
Well, yeah, AMC theater layouts are super weird. Like I went to a normal one a while ago, and like they're like stadium seating, but like every row is like weirdly high.
Yeah, that's how they structure like the Dolby and Prime ones. But for those anyway, it works really well because there's not actually a bad seat because you can't see the people in front of you, and like the angle, like even the ones like furthest down the row, like it feels like center basically.
Can we talk about some of the horrible fan takes on the Batman quick? I want to talk about some of these. I mean, horrible fan takes are a big thing now, especially like with like fan entitlement over certain movies, especially when like delays happen and other issues. Because that's the best part of this movie was it opened with that weird DC We Can Be Heroes ad, and then a bunch of those movies like the next week are no longer coming out in this year.
It's fun.
That was amazing.
It's like, oh, we're showing you all these clips and everything, and it's like, get hyped for these movies, and then next week, we're delaying them, so there's that.
But probably the worst take that people have commented on was from YouTuber Ludwig Ogren, who is quoted as saying it was like a Marvel movie with none of the comedy.
See, now this guy just doesn't like dark comedy. I mean, that thumb drive, I was laughing.
I can't. I'm still thinking about that joke. I'm still thinking it was so good, and just like the delivery was so Batman. He's just like thumb drive. But yeah, like there are some jokes, but I mean, you don't. Did you see the trailer? Why would you want jokes in this movie? Why would you go to this movie like, all right, I'm ready for fucking Adam West. I'm ready for an MCU movie.
Well, see, for more of his comments, I'll say say before we go too in depth what he said, I'll say more of what he says. He was quoted as saying, "Batman movie was fine, dude. It was fine. I just thought it'd be more fun. I don't know. It was like a Marvel movie with none of the comedy. Like I don't think I laughed or there was a single joke in the movie, which is not true." The streamer continued saying that perhaps he didn't enjoy the movie as much because he's just an old fucking man. Later, Ludwig said that even though the film was meant to be a brooding drama, he also thinks they did a bad job at that. He explained that if you have what is supposed to be, and this is a article from Jenks Esports TV, set my sources. Ludwig explained that if you have what's supposed to be a great vigilante detective Batman and a guy whose name is the Riddler, the movie should have been fun, like in a Sherlock Holmes or Knives Out kind of way.
What?
Which is just oof.
Well, what Matt Reeves did was it's a lot like Christopher Nolan's Batman. It's like there's jokes in there. They're just very subtle, and it's not like we're trying to go for the joke. It's like someone says a sarcastic comment and it's funny.
Well, and he responded. He did respond on YouTube that he basically saying that no superhero movie is a good movie. That they're all meh. That the Dark Knight maybe he's saying the Dark Knight is a good movie or it's not. He's saying like they're all meh and we have to move on, which is the deflection everyone makes, right?
Yeah, like the Martin Scorsese's and
which I agree with Scorsese on a lot of stuff, but I feel like even Scorsese would probably enjoy Batman, or at least not the same level as MCU. I would not put the Batman as MCU. Batman v Superman is probably MCU level.
Justice League.
Oh yeah, definitely
MCU level.
Yeah,
this is like kind of an actual movie.
but the Batman feels like a real like actual, not trying to be a marketable event, trying to be a movie first. I mean, in the comments were pretty savage on this guy. One YouTube user said, "So sad to hear Ludwig has COVID. Wonder if he ever get his taste back." Like, which is kind of like too far, but at the same time, that's really funny.
He went in expecting one thing, and
and the fact that I mean, what killed him when everyone after him is because his response was, even if it's not supposed to be fun, it failed at that because it's not fun, which is the dumbest thing you could possibly say in that moment. Like, I don't know what you're trying to say at that point. It's not good because it's not fun, and it's not, but it's bad at being not fun because it's not fun. Like, I don't get it. I do not, because it's not Sherlock Holmes or Knives Out. What about Seven, dude? Zodiac, Gone Girl.
I feel like
hilarious
movies.
I feel like he watched Joss Whedon's Justice League with Batflick, just making jokes and everything. It was like, that's what Batman should be, when that's exactly what he should not be.
But was the only person that thinks that, right? I know many people that are like, superheroes are for kids. How is this a dark movie? It's supposed to be for little children, even though superheroes have like never even really like been for kids. I mean, Batman's always been dark. The animated series is a kid show, in quotes, but I mean, that show dealt with like drug addiction, domestic abuse. Like that was a dark show. Mm-hmm. There's always been that. And even like comics now, most modern superhero comics, I would not give to a child. like they aren't appropriate. And even with like the Batman's not made for kids. I think most kids would probably hate this movie. It's long as hell. It doesn't have the MCU excitement. The action is pretty like spread out in the movie.
It's not a fast-paced movie.
No, it's really not. But
it's like a thinking movie. I would have liked it, but I was a weird fucking kid.
Same.
would have too. But even like past age 13, I would have loved this movie. But before that, I probably would have been bored.
I'd say probably around 10, I would have piqued my interest. I don't know if I would have liked it.
Because the middle is so political. If you don't understand what any of that means, you're not going to have the best time. I'm trying to think.
And this is something that you had like kind of said right after seeing it, which was that it's like perfect counter programming, because like this kind of thinking, mature movie that deals with like political themes in a smart way, that deals with like this character growth and stuff, is the perfect counter programming owing to like the generic superhero trend right now of giant universes and movies that go in one ear and out the other and are just meant to be fun and set up 800 other ones.
And to be fair, they are trying to set up a universe with this movie. There's multiple shows coming out, but they're doing it in the right way with it, which is what James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad, which is they're seeing what works and what doesn't and building off that. I mean, they canceled the first show idea because it wasn't working and replaced with one they think actually might work, which is how you should be doing it.
And I'll say necessary to, see that stuff to get, what's going on.
Well, I will say, like, when the DC tried to start their cinematic universe or whatever with Snyder, I was happy they were going in a different direction than Marvel with, like, the tone and everything. And then all of a sudden they're like, we should try to be more MCU, and that just didn't work. It's just like, be different, be counter.
Well, it wasn't just that. Is they were trying to be different while also being the same. It was like, let's do, like, that was, you want to talk about what Ludwig said about an MCU movie with none of the jokes. That's what, like, Batman v Superman is.
Yeah.
Like Batman v Superman is an MCU movie with none of the parts that make MCU movies actually good. Not to mention that because Snyder can't make a movie under 3 hours, they had to cut large portions of it, and that involved cutting the plot from the movie. Okay, so I want to end this show with some. We like to rank some stuff. We don't have to do full rankings because we're running low on time, but we can talk about where the Batman fits with other Batman movies because there's so many, right? And we're gonna focus on just live action Batman because we added animation into this. It'd be simple for Alex, but it would get a lot more complicated for me and Justin. So we'll just stick with live action. Where do you guys think so far? I mean, I'm assuming that we're all gonna have Paul Dano's Riddler as number one, probably, because Jim Carrey was not great.
I will say with Paul, I liked his Riddler. I did not like the second half of the interrogation scene when he just started like screaming and everything.
I love that. That's Paul Dano.
Yeah, see, for me, it worked only. I was literally thinking during that scene that if it was any other actor, it wouldn't work. But Paul Dano, just like in There Will Be Blood, it just works. Because, like, there are moments in that movie where he's just, like, screaming.
One question for you,
Alex. Like, get out of here.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How upset were you that the Paul Dano wasn't beaten up in this movie?
I didn't think about that until a couple days after. I thought that was really the key to making it a great movie. But yeah, Batman does not beat the shit out of him, but it was still somehow a great movie. I think maybe it will happen in the future because otherwise I can't explain this scientific phenomenon.
Anyway, but let's go back to Pattinson. Do you guys have any thoughts of where Pattinson lines up with like the other live action Batman? Because I do.
Yeah.
I probably have him at like probably second or third.
Maybe about where I got him.
Still Christian Bale.
Yeah,
but
my take is kind of like this way. I put Christian Bale at number one, and Pattinson would definitely be my number two. Like, I get why people like Michael Keaton. I also like Michael Keaton. Affleck did like a solid job, but to me, honestly, like those two are at a different level. I'm gonna be honest. But I think
Pattinson too.
Bale this is like kind of the take everybody has, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Bale as Bruce Wayne is basically like unbeatable. That was pretty perfect. I also really like his Batman though. That being said, to me, like the more I think on it, and it is still like recency thing, but to me, Pattinson as Batman in the Batman suit was literally perfect. Like, I honestly can't picture anyone doing a better job of him as Batman. Now, overall, like Bale is just so good as Bruce Wayne, and his Batman is also really good. That to me, he's still at the top. But like Pattinson, to me, that's why I have him at 2. Is like his Batman is just so good. And he has the potential to be the best. So not that there will ever be a Batman movie better than Dark Knight, but like in terms of the performance, like he could eventually top Bale, but I still have Bale at number 1.
Justin, what are your thoughts?
I agree. Bale is number 1. Pattinson, I'm trying not to be too, like Alex said, recency bias, but it's like he's coming up on 2 really fast, and I think the next movie will push him over it.
Yeah, that's probably. I think if the next one he could be number 2.
Then,
like, to me, the next movie will determine whether he's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
because he's definitely better than Ben Affleck.
Yeah, he's up there with Keaton. Affleck, I'm like, he didn't even get a solo movie, so I can't even he's so hard to comment on because he's got the look and everything, but didn't have his own movie. And the stuff he did have, it's just like, I don't know. It's hard to judge, especially considering I didn't like his murderous killing Batman.
I think he was solid as the character. I mean, he's definitely not as bad as Clooney and Kilmer. And I do think people need to get their nostalgia glasses off and realize that Adam West is not a good Batman.
No, that stuff was just so campy. Like, I can barely count it. It was just so ridiculous.
I love Adam West. I love Adam West as Batman, but it's not good. And you can never it's not good. But now I think there's a question, which is, do you guys have an idea where you would put the Batman on a rank of Batman movies?
That one's hard.
I'm gonna have to see it a couple more times, but right now I got it at third.
Ooh. So you did say there, because last time we talked, you were thinking about putting it at number 2.
Yeah, I say it's fighting for 2, but right now I got Batman Begins just over it. But that could change after seeing. I've only seen it once, so I'm like, I want to see it a couple more times before I definitely say it's 2.
I probably agree with you on that.
It's got a lot of potential to be 2.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Knight so far is untouchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, the odds of topping that or even matching that are just so hard because, like we've said many times, that one vaulted beyond that and is just one of the greatest movies ever made. And that's hard for any movie to get that bar in, the last 20 years, let alone, another Batman movie.
Well, when we said when we were talking about those movies, that one is still brought up today with all these comic book movies. It's it's held up, 14 years? It's it's hard pressed to beat right now. No one's
asking if Spider-Man No Way Home is better than Batman v Superman or Man of Steel or some of those type of movies. Everyone always asks, is this movie better than Dark Knight?
And they don't even ask what's funny because all the freak out about Endgame. They're not asking if No Way Home is as good as Endgame either.
Exactly, right? They want to compare it to Dark Knight because Dark Knight is seen by everyone as the golden example. And I've noticed that Dark Knight hype has kind of come down a little bit, but I don't think the Batman quite reaches it because Dark Knight's fucking perfect. But
I would agree.
It's at the same tier as Begins. It's at the same tier as Begins. I say it's better than Rises, but it's better than Begins.
For me, I'm gonna because I'm staying consistent with I had Dark Knight Rises at 2 when we talked about the Nolan ones. So for me, that's the argument because as far as the easiest comparison is Begins because they're both the first movie in the line of movies. And for me, this I still have to see Begins again because it's been a little bit. But for me, this edges out Begins. I don't know if it's better than Rises. It's been too long since I've seen that one, and I've only seen this one once.
I feel like you will rank it higher than we do, Alex, just because this movie was made specifically for you.
Yeah, I do feel a little catered to. So I do see myself. It is a distant 2, as fantastic as this movie is, but I could definitely see myself having it at 2 as well very soon. Well, but yeah, it does feel a little made for me. It's 3 hours long. It's really dark. It's like a meticulous detective serial killer story with Batman. It has good character arcs. This was made for me.
Well, I guess I'll explain it in math. I'll get to my final score so we can move on to that. I have the Batman at 4.5 out of 5, whereas in my opinion, the Dark Knight is 6 out of 5. That's where I'm at. I am at 4.5 out of 5, 9 out of 10. I love this movie. Something we haven't talked about yet is the soundtrack and the score, which has been stuck in my head on and off since I saw it. After we left the movie, we went to someplace else, and we left that place. It was pouring down rain, and I caught myself doing dun 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 in my head, walking like Batman until I looked and so I looked into like a window and saw my function do that and realized how stupid I looked. But anyway, this movie has stuck with me. I love that we finally got a movie where Batman beat a detective and solving a case is the core of the movie. We've gotten some tastes of that with Nolan's movies, but I'm glad we finally saw one where that's like the core of the movie. There's a mystery to solve. Brett Pattinson's great. Dana was great. Everyone else great. Like acting was amazing. Looked great. Script was fantastic. Love the movie. Cool action. Weakest part was Alfred, but that's like a nitpick, right? And I feel like I should explain, like for me, what nitpicks are is just simply if it doesn't affect my enjoyment, it's a nitpick.
Yeah,
that's basically what I got. I like have nitpicks with the movie too, but like,
yeah, mine was just the water.
But I'm at 4.5 out of 5. What about you guys? What are you at?
I have it 4 out of 5.
Interesting.
But that might change sooner than later.
I did waver back and forth for quite some.
Well, see, I was saying I have Begins at 4 out of 5, so I was like, well, I can't put it above that and say I think Begins is better right now. So I was like,
it's also true.
Yeah, I'm at 4.5. It was one of those where I was like, oh, do I do 4? Do I do 4.5? And I didn't rate it for a couple days, and I still couldn't stop thinking about it, so it had to be 4.5. I'm like, if a movie,
That's where I was
I've
at.
shown I have a preference for like movies that stick with you and make you think about them, like thematically, or just you can't get it out of your head. So I'm like, yep, it's got to go up.
Like it's a 3-hour movie that I might see again very soon because I want to see it in IMAX because it was filmed in IMAX. And who knows? Maybe still might be playing in IMAX when you guys come down, and we might do an in-person idiot plot. Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't. Or is it going to be Morbius by then?
Oh, God, that's right. That's coming up.
no, that wasn't coming out till May.
That trailer was a fucking joke. I saw that trailer.
Keeps getting pushed back. No one knows when it's coming out.
Well, it was supposed to come out in January, and I still don't know why it didn't come out in January. It's like
It was supposed to come out like in July of 2020. It still hasn't come out yet.
there was nothing in January. You could have wrecked house.
It was supposed to come out like before Venom 2, and Venom 2 has been out for like 4 months now. Anyway, that's our thoughts on the Batman. We really like it. I think everyone should go see it if you're into superhero movies.
And even if you're not, honestly.
Yeah. It's a really good crime movie. It's dark, it's brooding, it's different from anything that any other superhero movies are making. Even DC. It's different from what DC's been making recently.
Thank God.
So it's really good counter programming, like we said. You find it in theaters now. See it in the biggest screen possible. But also, if you can't see it in theater because it's just too long, it's coming to HBO Max on April 19th. And I think it's going to be there for a prolonged period of time, not just the 1 month. So you don't have.
We could still watch it together, even if it's not in theaters.
Right. True. I mean, I might not see it on Max because I'm gonna buy this on Blu-ray even if it is on Max. Like I have HBO Max, I'll still buy this in physical copy.
Yeah, I will also buy this movie
because I want that nice crisp quality that only Blu-rays can provide. Because I'm a stickler. Also, just see it in a nice theater, just so you can sit in a comfy chair for 3 hours. That's probably.
How was your guys' theater? Were they packed? Mine was it wasn't.
Mine was full.
Yeah, it's packed. Yeah.
By Alamo standards, because nobody sits in the front of the Alamo. That the back section was completely.
Yeah, remove the front seats. This is my new theater thing because I know I'm never gonna win on movie trailers and intermission. My new one is remove the seats that are 2 feet away from the screen. No one buys them. They're completely fucking worthless. Just take them and move them behind and just leave space in front of the screen.
Now that's something that might work.
Give an email to AMC.
Because they're pointless. Even
hey, you own AMC stock? You have a say.
I am a shareholder. My 8 to 10 shares. I'll put this in. That's
enough reason for me. Anyway, that's our thoughts on the Batman. Go see it. It's a great time. But if you already saw it and want to tell us what you thought about it, please let us know in the comments. And if you liked what we did today, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. I think there's a message at the end that'll tell you where. I don't remember anymore. Like us on Facebook, we have a Twitter now. So go check out our Twitter. We'll probably have some fun stuff there. Hopefully we think of some fun weird things to do on social media. But go check us out. Thank you so much for listening. This is David for Alex and Justin. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Idiot Plot. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, follow us on Facebook and Letterbox. The links are in the description.